Hello, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time visiting, it's a pleasure to meet you. If you're returning, it's wonderful to see you again. Thank you so much for your continued support. I hope you're ready for some more ASMR nonsense. In this video, I'll be reading an AI-generated short story entitled Professor Noodle and the Spaghetti Time Machine. In this story, Professor Noodle and his robot assistant, Raviolio, time travel in a pasta-made machine, tackling whimsical challenges across history. From lasagna flying wings to stabilizing a pasta pyramid. It's a delightfully absurd, noodle-filled adventure. Before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, I hope you'll give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you'll be alerted when I post new videos. I'm planning on producing more nonsensical, soft-spoken short stories. One more thing. I've been experimenting with voice cloning technology, using my own voice, of course. The voice you're hearing is an AI-generated version of my voice, but it's still me. Now, sit back, relax, and prepare to enter the silly and sensational realm of pasta-powered time travel. Professor Noodle and the Spaghetti Time Machine. In the quaint town of Pastaville, where marinara fountains bubbled in the town square and the scent of garlic bread wafted through the air, there lived an eccentric inventor named Professor Noodle. Professor Noodle wasn't like other scientists. While his colleagues at the University of Pasta pursued traditional fields of study, like the physics of Parmesan melting or the chemistry of basil, Professor Noodle's research was unconventional. "I have done it," he exclaimed one afternoon, his wild curly hair sticking out like overcooked fusilli as he paced around his cluttered laboratory. "I have built a spaghetti time machine." His assistant, a rather skeptical tortellini-shaped robot named Raviolio, blinked his LED eyes. "Professor," Raviolio buzzed in his metallic monotone, "are you sure this is wise? Time travel is unpredictable." "Nonsense." Professor Noodle waved a wooden spoon dramatically. "With great noodles come great possibilities." He unveiled his creation with a flourish. It was a magnificent contraption made entirely of pasta. The base was built from rigatoni, with gears crafted from delicate farfalle and levers of sturdy penny. Twinkling strings of spaghetti formed the delicate circuitry, while a large meatball sat at the center, pulsing with mysterious energy. "I call it," Professor Noodle announced, "the Spaghetti Quantum Chrono Launcher." "Catchy," murmured Raviolio. "But how does it work?" asked Raviolio, his circuits buzzing with curiosity. "Simple." Professor Noodle grinned, adjusting his bow tie, which, upon closer inspection, was made of uncooked bow tie pasta. "We insert the desired time coordinates, wind the pasta crank, and voila, we are transported anywhere in history." "Have you tested it?" Professor Noodle paused. "Well, no, but I did send a lasagna back to ancient Rome. And Julius Caesar's last words were reportedly, 'Et tu lasagna?' So I'd say it worked." "Wonderful," Raviolio muttered, his skepticism at an all-time high. But before Raviolio could protest further, Professor Noodle had already climbed into the contraption and beckoned him to follow. Come, Raviolio, adventure awaits. With a resigned sigh and a slight whir of his servos, Raviolio climbed in. Professor Noodle wound the pasta crank, and the machine began to hum. Destination, the Renaissance, Professor Noodle declared. We shall dine with Da Vinci. The noodles glowed, the meatball pulsed, and whoosh, the spaghetti time machine spun through the time-space continuum like a fork twirling pasta. A sticky situation in the Renaissance. When the swirling vortex of spaghetti energy faded, Professor Noodle and Raviolio found themselves standing in a grand workshop filled with sketches, models, and a very confused Leonardo da Vinci. Che cosa? Leonardo blinked, his quill frozen mid-sketch. Who are you? Professor Noodle, at your service, the professor announced with a bow. And this is my loyal assistant, Raviolio. Beep, said Raviolio, trying to appear polite. Leonardo eyed the pair suspiciously, then glanced at the steaming pile of spaghetti still coiling around the time machine. Are you wizards? He asked, narrowing his eyes. Of a sort, Professor Noodle said with a grin. We come from the future. Leonardo scratched his beard thoughtfully. Interesting. Perhaps you can help me with a dilemma. Of course, Professor Noodle beamed. What's troubling you, dear Leonardo? I am attempting to invent a flying machine, but I cannot figure out how to stabilize the wings. Raviolio scanned the designs and beeped softly. Perhaps if you reinforce the structure with fettuccine-like struts for flexibility. Or, added Professor Noodle, use lasagna sheets to create aerodynamic lift. Leonardo's eyes lit up. Lasagna wings. Magnifico. They spent the afternoon collaborating, and soon Leonardo's flying contraption was soaring through the sky like a well-cooked ravioli drifting in broth. Success! Leonardo cheered as his test pilot glided over Florence. Excellent. Professor Noodle grinned. But we must be going. Time waits for no noodle. Grazie, amici. Leonardo waved as they clambered back into the spaghetti time machine. Next stop, Professor Noodle spun the pasta crank. Ancient Egypt. Trouble with the Pharaoh's pasta pyramid. The machine whirred, spaghetti strands glowing once more, and poof, they landed in the sweltering heat of ancient Egypt. Hotter than a pot of boiling pasta. Professor Noodle mopped his brow. They found themselves standing before a massive pyramid, but something was off. Professor, Raviolio beeped nervously. Is that pasta? Professor Noodle gasped. The pyramid wasn't made of stone. It was made entirely of lasagna sheets, layered meticulously with sauce and cheese. By the great Ravioli, Professor Noodle whispered. It's a pasta pyramid. Halt! A booming voice echoed. A group of guards approached, their uniforms adorned with macaroni insignias. At their head was Pharaoh Fettuccine the Magnificent, his golden headdress shimmering in the sunlight. Who dares approach the pasta pyramid of Pharaoh Fettuccine? The Pharaoh demanded. Ah, greetings, your royal sauceliness. Professor Noodle gave an elaborate bow. I am Professor Noodle, and this is Raviolio. We come in peace. Pharaoh Fettuccini narrowed his eyes. You are not here to steal the sacred parmesan, are you? Perish the thought, Professor Noodle declared. We are merely travelers, with a penchant for pasta. The Pharaoh's expression softened. Perhaps you can help me. We're quite good at that, Raviolio murmured. My pyramid. It is collapsing. The sauce is seeping between the layers, making it unstable. Ah, Professor Noodle stroked his chin. A classic case of soggy lasagna layers. Perhaps, Raviolio suggested, if you reinforce the layers with breadsticks. Brilliant. Professor Noodle clapped his hands. And sprinkle a layer of grated cheese between each layer to absorb excess moisture. Yes, Pharaoh Fettuccini beamed. You two are truly pasta prophets. They set to work, reinforcing the pasta pyramid until it stood tall and proud, a marvel of carbohydrate engineering. Your wisdom has saved my kingdom, the Pharaoh proclaimed, showering them with golden rigatoni as a reward. Thank you, Your Majesty, Professor Noodle said with a bow. But alas, we must be going. Farewell, pasta travelers. Pharaoh Fettuccini waved as the spaghetti time machine whirred to life once more. A close call in the future. Next stop, the future, Professor Noodle declared as the machine hummed and swirled. They landed in a gleaming metropolis where towering skyscrapers were made entirely of carbonara-coated steel. Fascinating, Raviolio murmured, scanning the horizon. The future is cheesy, but their wonder was short-lived. Intruders, boomed a robotic voice. A towering pasta bot clanked toward them, its eyes glowing red and its arms made of rotating fusilli cannons. Uh-oh, Professor Noodle gulped. I think we may have overdone it. Identify yourself, the pasta bot demanded. We're just tourists. Professor Noodle grinned nervously. Lovers of fine pasta. Tourists? The pasta bot's eyes flickered. Error. Pasta tourists must register at the spaghetti port. We'll do that, Raviolio beeped quickly. They scrambled back into the spaghetti time machine as the pasta bot's fusilli cannons whirred ominously. Back to the present. Professor Noodle spun the crank furiously. The noodles glowed one final time, and, bam, they landed safely back in Pastaville. Home sweet pasta. Professor Noodle and Raviolio emerged from the spaghetti time machine, a bit frazzled, but otherwise intact. Well, Professor Noodle sighed, brushing stray pasta strands from his coat. That was educational. Agreed? Raviolio buzzed, though I think I'll stay away from fusilli cannons in the future. Wise choice, my dear Raviolio. Professor Noodle patted his trusty assistant on the head. Now, what do you say we order a pizza? Extra cheese? Always. As the sun set over Pastaville, painting the sky with marinara-colored hues, Professor Noodle and Raviolio relaxed with their well-earned pizza, knowing that time and pasta were once again in perfect harmony. The end. I hope you enjoyed this silly story. If you did, please give this video a like, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. More absurd, soft-spoken short stories are in the making. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.